think like people won't be able to have as long term of a career with 4-ounce gloves? I mean, because so much damage.
Yeah, they won't need to though, because the amount of money they're getting, they'll be able to fight a little less regular. So they won't have to like fight like what I was doing and stuff. But I wouldn't change that for the world. All the money in the world, I won't change that for, because I've got life experience, I've got stories. None of these lot will have these crazy stories and stuff that anymore. I mean, they'll just like fight 2 or 3 times a year, and then they'll be able to retire. And I like what he's doing for the fighters. Like they are getting paid more money and stuff, and they're getting this superstar exposure and that. But yeah, I'm glad I did it my way.
Yeah, like because I feel like so many people now, more people now are aware of Muay Thai, like through one championship, but they're seeing a very specific version of
exactly. And all these casuals and that, like I go on and I read some comments sometimes, and I think, Jesus Christ. It's absolutely ridiculous, some of the stuff that they come out with and that. And you can tell straight away that they have no understanding of what real Muay Thai is, just what they see on one championship. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, it's amazing that it's getting so many more new people involved in the sport. It's amazing it's getting more eyes on it and stuff like that. But some of the shit I have to read sometimes is sickening.
Do you feel like what do you think like needs to be done like to like keep like people appreciative of like traditional Muay Thai? Like, is there a way to do it?
Sports evolve, don't they, unfortunately, and I think that's what this one just is doing. It's just evolving into this new hard-hitting, fast 3-round format. There's still like a lot of traditional rules fights going on in Thailand, but like the Thais are not the same as they were when I was fighting. Like there were Saenchai, Singdam, Anawat, Pakon, Sagadao, Pet Munchu, all in my weight class, do you know what I mean? All killers. And I fought like, I named 7 there, I fought 5 of them. And they were all like, they were a different breed. The only ones you've got like that now are like Superlek, really, and Rodtang. But even Rodtang wasn't the same level as these guys. Superlek were, but Rodtang wasn't. But Rodtang's been built into something totally different, into a complete superstar now on one championship, and they've marketed him so well. So yeah, it's like the Thais are not the same as the war, and those Thais aren't really the same as the war in the golden era. So it's same as anything though. When you look at boxing, like if you look at the heavyweights now, there's no heavyweights like the war in the 90s and the late 80s. Yeah, look at the 90s, Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe, all these guys. You know what I mean? Like some of the wars they would have, you don't see any of that now. Anthony Joshua won't go. He can go 2 rounds with any of them guys from the 90s and 80s, do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's a weird one, combat sports. It's like one of the only sports that's evolving and progressing, but the guys are getting softer. Yeah. It don't make sense to me. Right. Yeah. But they've got all access to these like sports science and nutrition and all this business, and it's like it's making them softer, I think, because all these like old school fighters, like look at the golden era of Muay Thai. Imagine like some of the guys trying to live with those guys now, like Samart and Karahat and all those guys, they'd have no chance. But so yeah, it's a weird one.
Do you think with things changing and also your gym that you have, the era is opposed like healing and all that? Do you believe in all that stuff, like cold plunging?
Yeah, of course, all that stuff,
especially stem cells, all that stuff.
Yeah, the older I've had stem cell treatment as well in Costa Rica. It's one of the best things I ever did. But yeah, you have, especially as you get older, right. If you want to have longevity in your career, one of my guys, he always says world-class training needs world-class recovery, and it's very true. And especially like I say, I mentioned, as I get older, I'll do cold plunges, I'll do my saunas 2-3 times a week, hot yoga. I make sure I'm in with my physio religiously once a week. I have 1 session a week, which is like an FRC movement session, just so I'm keeping my hips, my shoulders all strong but supple and loose and stuff as well. So you have to incorporate all them stuff as you get older if you want to have longevity.
Yeah. You feel like that's like almost harder, at least like, I mean, not that I'm anywhere near your level, but for me it's like kind of like sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I don't need to do the stretching, like whatever. Like the discipline of
discipline you have to do. I know, I realise now at my age that I'll think, I can't be hard. I've just had a monster session. I'm like, I don't want to do this. And I think, well, you're not going to be able to move tomorrow unless you do. Like, go on, I suppose I better do it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
And Liam, for yourself, you've obviously been through the generation of the old school. You obviously, with Saenchai, all those individuals, and train old school Muay Thai and all that. At what transition or at what point did you realize, like, shit, like, people know you? I know you've been like on the podcast with Joe Rogan and all that, but at what point in your life were you at where like people started noticing you in public and all that, and you were like,
I'm still not used to that, you know, and it happens everywhere I go, and every time it happens. Someone stopped me in an airport in Sacramento yesterday, and they ran over and went, "Oh, can I have a photo?" And it still blows my mind that Muay Thai has got to that point now, because like when I was younger and I was having all these fights against like, well, I was 22 the first time I fought Saenchai. Saenchai's the greatest fighter of this era, and I fought him when I was 22. And no one knew me then, do you know what I mean? But what I was doing back then was a lot more crazy and better than what I'm doing now. But no one knew back then. And so I still find it surreal that people still like come up to, like, I never envisioned Muay Thai getting to the space where people were running up to you in airports asking for photos and recognising you every time you leave the house and stuff like that. That still blows my mind, and I'm happy that I've been able to be one of the guys who've been part of that, not to get it out there, and especially in the UK, not to get it out there to the casual fans and the casual MMA fans and stuff like that. So yeah, it blows my mind. I'm not sure if I can pinpoint exactly when it was where it started happening regular, but like I say, it's still surreal that it does happen.
Yeah, because you seem like a very humble guy. I mean, obviously everybody talks about you. Anybody who's ever met you, the podcast you've been on and everything. When you went on to the Joe Rogan show, did that just scale you, higher as far as your popularity and people, knowing you more often in the public eye?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, it did me the world of good going on there. And Joe's such a cool guy as well. It was just so easy to go on there and just sit and chat with him. But yeah, I think the first time I went on it, when it was still live on YouTube, and I remember glancing up in his studio at one point, and there were 57,000 people listening live, and I shit myself, and I started like stuttering, and I thought, shit, I shouldn't have looked up at there like that. But yeah, that was surreal as well. I think it went on to have like over millions of views eventually. But having been sitting there with 57,000 people listening live is crazy. I remember I did some commentary for One Championship on a Twitch stream last year. And I didn't even know what Twitch was. Someone just went, "Oh, do you want to go over to..." Because I was in the stadium in Denver when Mighty Mouse were fighting. And they went, "Oh, go over there and do a bit of commentary on this fight on that Twitch stream." And I didn't know what Twitch was. And I looked at the screen and I went, "What's that?" And they went, "No, that's how many people are listening." There were 500,000 people listening live on to us just on then. So to have like eyes on you like that, that's again, it's mind-blowing that there's MMA and Muay Thai. Muay Thai is alongside MMA getting that amount of views and all them eyes on you and stuff like that. So it's amazing.
Does that affect you in any way whenever like you're in the ring or when you hear the crowd, especially like One Championship?
No, I can't. Don't bother me whatsoever. You zoned in, aren't you, when you're in there fighting and stuff like that? Yeah, I'm in there. I'm enjoying myself when I'm in there, and I'm in there with. I've got my game plan set in stone. I don't hear anything. I can hear my corner, and that's about it, really.
Do you still get nervous though walking to the ring or not?
No, I love it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love the butterflies and the adrenaline, because if you don't have that, you end up fighting bad. I've had fights before where I haven't had any of that, and I've got in there and I've been flat and nothing's worked, and even the ones where sometimes I've lost because of it, and even the ones that I've won, I haven't enjoyed it because it's just been like a bit of a you flat, and so I always like to have those butterflies, those little bit of nerves, because it makes you that little bit sharper. You're just that little bit more zoned in and stuff like that. So I always say that to fighters. Like, we say, "Oh, I'm nervous," and I said, "Listen, it's part of it. You need it. If you don't have it, that's when you should worry."
Yeah. Has there been a situation where like you didn't have those nerves and you were able to somehow psych yourself into it?
No, it's only happened to me like twice in my career, and both times I thought like really, really bad, and I don't know why it wasn't there. It was just like, what's going on here? But yeah, it's only ever happened twice. So
like for you now, like I mean, obviously you put out so much great content, like with your website, all your seminars, and you're really generous with like your techniques and stuff. So like, kind of going back to what you had said way earlier on, like you have to be selfish as a fighter, right? And like I was always told, like, you're selfish as a fighter, but selfless as a coach. Yeah. So like, for you as someone who's been with a great coach for a long time and like teaching more now, like what do you think makes like a great coach for Muay Thai?
You need to evolve with the sport. Like I said earlier, the sport's evolving all the time, and that's what Richard's been so good with. He's evolved with it. He ain't just like, I've seen a lot of coaches in England who get to a good level and then they just think they know it all and they just stop. And then they get to that level and they never surpass it, and they just flatline at that level and they don't move with the times, and they'll be one of the best gyms in country, and then everyone else will surpass them and they'll stay there. So you've got to evolve with the sport. The good thing about Richard, he goes to Thailand still every year for 6 weeks until he likes to learn himself. Oh, no. He's like 56 now, Richard, or 57. So he'll take his sons